Watching SA Today, there have been numerous calls to increase youth into agricultural sector. However, a number of challenges have been identified, from lack of land ownership, funding and access to markets. As part of Youth Month, we speak to two of South Africa's farmers, both under the age of 30. We're now joined by Kamo Bombe, poultry farmer and television presenter. We're also going to be chatting a little bit to Siviwe Tikana, a dairy farmer who's also a general manager of Rosedene Dairy Farm in Eastern Cape. But welcome to you, Kamo, and thank you so much for joining us. I mean, what you've been able to achieve is remarkable. The country, as you can see now, is not looking good on the youth front, especially youth unemployment being at an extreme high at the moment. Talk to me about what made you venture into farming and when did it all begin for you? I know that you grew up practically farming with your mom and your grandmother, but tell us how it became, how that passion of you farming with them eventually led you to start your own business.
Thank you so much, Unati, for this amazing opportunity. Yes, you're right. I was born in Limpopo, Molejera, and my grandmother actually used to work for the biggest tomato producers in the Southern Hemisphere, which is ZZ2. And I mean, my mom and grandmother used to also grow tomatoes. So, I mean, I used to see how they made money out of agriculture. So when I moved to Gauteng, it was a bit of a challenge getting land. As someone who really wanted to venture into agriculture, started doing my research, and I met a guy called Philip who said to me, with agriculture, you don't really need big land, because that's the perception that we have, that in order for you to get into agriculture, you need hectares of land, right? When you start, you can start at a small scale just so that you can gather your market. I mean, some of the challenges that are really faced by young people, it's access to market. So starting at a small scale really helps. And then I drove to Zirbekom, which is south of Johannesburg, and I met a lady who introduced me to poultry farming. So initially now I wanted to grow crops, cash crops. Cash crops, we're talking tomatoes, we're talking onions, we're talking spinach. But because of, land it's a big problem. So I had to opt for poultry farming, which is actually what I like now. I started by renting a chicken house. I used to grow broilers. Those are chickens that are raised for meat. Now, the problem with that is that my mortality was very high. My chickens were dying due to the fact that, I didn't have training. I didn't understand how to grow chickens. So how would I do ho-ho? You're just like, it's just chickens. It should be easy to grow them. Kanti, there's actually a lot of things that go into growing chickens, day olds, light, feeding them. How do you feed them? What is it that you need to do when you grow broilers? So I lost a lot of money. I think I lost about 120,000 when I started. I was bankrupt, but I researched and met these guys who gave me training. It was SK Mukize Associate. So they train poultry farmers in broilers and layers. So because I was scared of, the money that I lost, when former mayor of City of Johannesburg, Park Stau, launched an agri-park in 2017 in Ekenhof, I applied. But in that, I then decided to do layers. So those are chickens that are raised to lay eggs. And we used to produce 3,500 eggs a day. Now, the problem with agri-parks, it was just a great initiative that government came up with. They are not managed well. So, the farm was next to a squatter camp. So they literally used to break in a lot and steal eggs. And that really touched me. And I think if someone breaks into a farm and steals eggs, it simply means that it's unemployment rate, like we're saying now. And to be honest with you, I believe that in order for us to boost our economy, agriculture can help. Anyone and everyone can be involved in agriculture. I want to say to young people, hard work agriculture, we're not only talking growing, which is primary farming. If you listen to our president, how we work agriculture, he says we need young people to be innovative within the agricultural space. We need young people to be involved in agro-processing. A lot of financial institutions, unfortunately, are running away from funding primary farmers, mainly because of climate change. for you to go to a supermarket and buy a braai pack or buy a chicken, it means that it went to an abattoir, which is a slaughterhouse. So you see, the value chain is long. I can be a grower, Unati, you can be a meat processor. So what you do when you buy chickens from me, slaughter them, package, and sell them to retailers or whoever your market is. So we need young people to be innovative within the agricultural space. I believe that there are so many opportunities within the agricultural space. It's just that maybe really there is still lack of training, there is still lack of knowledge.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Government is really trying hard to,
Let's talk about those challenges. So, I mean, somebody listening to you now, Kamo, is probably exasperated just by listening to some of the challenges that you've encountered. I mean, you are a young farmer and you've gone the journey, but you've encountered so many problems. Where do you think the problem is? I mean, you've mentioned access to funding, access to land, and the fact that there were so many problems just by the poultry farm itself in terms of not only the logistics, but just the way in which you farm. I'm hearing you speaking about mentorship, but I'm also hearing you saying there is really a lack of support for young people who want to venture into this. So talk to me about what some of those challenges you think coming from government that support, and where can that gap be closed?
I think, some of the challenges that are faced by emerging farmers, which are small-scale farmers, are, I said, access to funding. So in order for you, I mean, for instance, I want to scale up and be a commercial farmer. In order for, say, a land bank to fund me with 5 million, they need a lease agreement. I'm currently renting a farm. I mean, I've applied for a farm through rural development and land reforms. So they're saying to me, they're giving me 5 years. And I'm fighting that, because when you go to financial institutions, they say to you, in order for us to find you, we need at least a lease year 10 years. Whereas Department of Rural Development is saying to me, we're giving you 5 years. And it doesn't make sense for me to grow if I've got 5 years. No one is willing to invest if only less than 10 years. The issue of EIA. What is EIA? EIA is environmental impact assessment. What is environmental impact assessment? It's a certificate that talks about how will this chickens affect other plants, other animals, how will this chicken farming affect people around the farm, just to get that EIA. As a small scale farmer who wants to be commercial, I need 300,000. And in me paying that 300,000, it's not guaranteed that that EIA will say, okay, you've passed, we're giving you an EIA. I can pay that 300,000 and then come back and they can say to me, you've failed. So those are some of the challenges that we face. When it comes to market, in order for me to supply these big retails, they want an EIA, they want, say, I want to supply the most chickens. They say to me, okay, we need a certificate from the abattoir. A lot of abattoirs are white owned. And in order for you to get your chickens to an abattoir, you need to at least produce 30,000 chickens, which is broilers, per cycle, which is a lot for me, So, and again, if I do not have a off-take agreement with these retailers or whoever that I want to supply to, there's no way that a land bank will give me money. There's no way that the IDC will give me money. So, to be honest with you, as a small-scale farmer, I always say that you shouldn't really worry about supplying these big retails. I believe in informal market. Economy. That should be your market. In that way, you are able to grow. And when you do that, it's easy for these retails to approach you. And what's nice about when these retails approach you is that you can tell them what you want. Because I've realized that as black farmers, our margins are squeezed when we supply these retails. They can say to you, a 900 gram of chicken, we want to buy it for 15 rands. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it takes 21 rands for me to grow a chicken to 2 kg. You know what I mean? So there is transportation that is needed.
Kamo, I'm going to want us to just pause there for a moment and introduce Siviwe Tikana. I'm speaking to two young farmers. If you've just joined us, SA Today is focusing on Youth Month throughout the month of June. Siviwe Tikana is a dairy farmer. Thank you so much for joining us, Siviwe. I am in conversation with Kamo Bombe, who's a poultry farmer as well. But Siviwe, I know that after you finished high school, you were actually not sure what you wanted to do. And after a couple of years, you ended up with farming. Talk to me about that journey into farming and why you think that you chose this industry, to start off with, especially from somebody at a very young age who wasn't sure what he wanted to do.
I actually joined a missionary organization in Worcester. And with that, I used to travel around in Africa. And I saw the need in our continent, and looking at those women and the children working those lands, I told myself, hey, I think there's something that we need to do for our continent. And I am at the position that I can actually do something about it. Because I was going to go do my LLB. I actually did my LLB and I'm left through the year. But agriculture has taken me because I don't see myself doing anything else now other than agriculture.
Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that when somebody as young as yourselves, when you join this industry or when you start to, venture out into the world of agriculture and become farmers, there's so many hurdles and challenges that you come across. Kamo was just taking us through some of the challenges that she's come across. That is the one thing that can deter many young people from venturing into the sector. Talk to me about some of your challenges, Siviwe, and how you've been able to overcome some of them.
I actually joined in when Kamo was talking about, I think she was talking about the access to a market. And that is something that I have actually struggled with a bit myself, just gaining access to a market. And people always think that access to a market means you have to be supplying the formal market. You have to supply these big names. You don't need to supply these big names. You can go into the informal market. And I have actually sold, because that's what we used to do on our farm, taking our produce by hand, loading the truck up, going to shop by shop and asking them to buy my produce, to buy my milk, and so that they can actually see. Because it doesn't help me approaching a big supermarket and saying, hi, I'll be supplying, can I supply you with milk or amasi, without bringing that thing to them. I saw that it is much better that I bring my product to them, let them taste my product, let them see it, and also you are more than welcome to come visit my farm, because I think it makes much more better sense when we approach these big guys and let them visit the farm, let them come see the facility. And also, people tend to think because you're young, you don't know what you're talking about. And farming has been the old timers industry. And I have seen how challenging that is, because when you go into the co-op, no one takes you seriously. And you have to be stern and you need to talk in a certain way in order to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But I think as soon as you know that you've got that passion, don't let anything deter you. You have to push your product into that market. You have to go straight into these spheres. Network with your neighbors, network with the associations, the farmers associations, because those things are very crucial for the agricultural scheme.
Right.
Everyone wants to succeed, to see you succeed.
All right, I've got no time left, but very quickly, just as a wrap, in 30 seconds, Kamo, perhaps just tell us what are some of the things that you would like to leave with young people who would like to venture into farming? Very quickly, what would your advice be?
We can't all be primary farmers. I think, like we're saying, and Siviwe is saying that some of the challenges that are faced by farmers is access to market. We need middlemen. It doesn't mean that as a farmer, entrepreneur, we have farmers where they grow, but they cannot sell their produce. So we need young people who can get into the space and say, okay, I can help you with market. Let me get this produce. Let me sign contracts with these big guys so that you are able to supply them with your fresh produce. So all I can say to young people is that there are so many opportunities within the agricultural space. We just need to be innovative.
Fantastic. Siviwe?
I would say have the passion. You must have the passion, have the drive. And don't let anything deter you. This is our South Africa. Let us all work this land all together. And what Kamo is also saying, agriculture is not for only the people who work the land. There are many spheres in agriculture. You can go into marketing into agriculture. You can also be working in the lab. We need lab testers to test our soil. So there's a lot to go into agriculture. Do not lose that passion. Let it drive you, and you will definitely succeed.
All right, Siviwe and Kamo, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to both of you. Happy Youth Month, and stay the course. All right, that was Siviwe Tikana, a dairy farmer who is also a general manager of Rosedene Dairy Farm in Eastern Cape. We're also joined by Kamo Bombe, who's a poultry farmer and television presenter. Now let's take